Welcome back, students. Let us start the last part of theory of production. Here I am going to explain about derivation of smooth isocont and properties of isocont. Let us start derivation of smooth isocont. It is assumed that each of the different combinations of the labor and capital shown in the table produce the same level of output, that is 20 units. Here in the table, whatever the combination we are showing, that is same level of output, that is 20 units it can be produced. The combinations are such that if one factor is increased, the other factor is decreased and vice versa. Look at when we look at the table, when one labor is there, capital is 15. When two labors are there, less capital we used, 11. When three labors are there, less capital, that is 8 capital we are using, and 4 labor is there, we are using 6 capital. So the combinations are such that if one factor is increased, the other factor is decreased and vice versa. All these combinations are technically efficient. If we plot all these combinations and join them, we get curve Q. Here's look at that curve. When see 15 is the capital, along with y-axis we are measuring capital, x-axis we are measuring labor. When 15 is the capital, one labor we are using. So like this you have to show the points. So when we this and then we join them, we get a Q curve. The Q curve is the isocont or equal product curve. It shows that all those combinations of labor and capital with which given technology produce 20 units of output. So an isocont is the locus of all those combinations of labor and capital which yield the same level of output. So this is how we get the smooth isocont. Isocont map. We can label isoconts in physical units of output without any difficulty. Since each isocont represents a specified level of output, it is possible to say how much the output is greater or lesser on one isocont than another. Look at the diagram. The diagram shows that the output of 20 units, 40 units and 60 units on isocont Q1, Q2, Q3 respectively. So an isocont Q2, the output is 20 units more than Q1. Here it is 20, here it is 40. So 20 units more than Q1. And on isocont Q3 and isocont Q3, 40 units more than the isocont Q1, because the difference between 20 to 60 is 40. So an isocont map enables us to measure the physical quantities of output. Now properties of isocont. Number 1, isocont slopes downwards to the right. It means that in order to keep the output constant, when the amount of one factor is increased, the quantity of other factor must be reduced. So if more capital is there, less labor. If more labor is there, less capital. So the isocont slopes downwards to the right. This is the property number 1. Second, isoconts are convex to the origin. The slope of isocont is negative. It is negative. It is not upward sloping. It is downward sloping. The convexity of isocont means that as we move down the curve, less and less capital is given for an additional unit of labor. So as to keep the constant level of output, in the diagram it is clear that as we increase labor at constant rate, the amount of capital given up, that is delta K, delta K for an additional unit of labor goes on falling. If the isocont is concave to the origin, it would mean that the marginal rate of technical substitution is increasing. The diagram shows that the labor is increased at a constant rate. The amount of capital given up, delta K, goes on increasing. Such behavior is irrational. Therefore, isoconts are not concave to the origin, they are convex to the origin. Third, isocont do not intersect. By definition, isocont can never cut each other. If they cut each other, it would be logical contradiction, because labor and capital, both the curves, if they are intersecting each other, then there will be equilibrium, and that does not happen. Isocont cannot touch either axis. If isocont touches any axis, it would mean that the output can be produced with the help of only one factor. It is unrealistic because the output cannot be produced only by labor or by capital. So isocont cannot touch either x-axis or y-axis. These are the four properties. Now next point, ridge lines. The area of rational operation is an isocont lies between the ridge lines. The firms will produce only in those segments of isocont which are convex to the origin and lie between the ridge lines. In the diagram, the curves Q1, Q2, Q3, Q1, Q2, Q3 are oval shaped isoconts. See, this is a oval shaped isocont. The curves OA, OB, the curves OA and OB are the ridge line on the oval shaped isoconts. The points C, D, E, F, G, H between the ridge lines are economically feasible units of capital and labor, which can be employed to produce 100, 200, 300 units of output. The ridge lines separate economic region of production from uneconomic region of production. The region in which marginal products of all inputs are positive constitutes economic region of production. In the uneconomic region, the marginal product of an input becomes either zero or negative, and input substitution does not arise. Production in such region is not profitable, not feasible. This is about the ridge lines. Now the last point is expansion path. We study how the firm given the factor prices will change its factor combination as it expands its output in the long run. The iso cost lines A1, B1, A2, B2, A3, B3 are drawn parallel to each other because the relative factor prices are assumed constant. If the firm wishes to produce the level of output denoted by isocont Q1, Q2, Q3, it will choose the least cost factor combination, that is E1, at which the isocont Q1 is tangent to the isocost line A1, B1. Similarly, if the firm wants to produce higher level of output denoted by isocont Q2 and Q3, it will choose the factor combination at E2 and E3, which are the least cost factor combination for the outputs Q2, Q3 respectively. At points E1, E2, E3, the marginal rate of technical substitution of labor for capital is equal to the ratio factor prices. If we join minimum cost factor combinations at E1, E2, E3, we get OE line. It is called expansion path or a scale line. It shows how the firm, given the factor prices, will change the amount of factor when it increases the scale of production. It shows the cheapest way of producing each level of output given the relative factor prices. The rational entrepreneur will choose to produce at some point on the scale line when both the factors are variable in the long run. So this is what is about the expansion path. This can be asked in the short note. Explain expansion path. You have to give with the help of diagram. Then the second thing which can be asked, that is ridge lines. That is also for the short notes. Explain ridge lines, and the main question can be explain the various properties of isocont. All the 4 properties you have to give, and isocont map. This is a derivation of smooth isocont. This is a very big one, so all the questions are covered here. That is, explain the derivation of smooth isoconts and properties of isocont, separate question. Ridge line and expansion path, separate question. So this is where this topic is over. There are many diagrams, so in your answer you have to give all the diagrams.